Welcome to another episode of the Canon on the Boomer Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today doing a review of WandaVision episode 3. So the first two dropped in the first week, and they just gave us episode 3. I thought it was going to be episode 3 and 4, just maybe. Mainly because they gave 3 to the critics already. And so I didn't think they would just have a week where the critics didn't have nothing new, or I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that's what it was. So this is going to be spoiler, as always. I like this episode. It was, I don't know. So my biggest issue with this, and this is me. I know a lot of people have an issue with how long we've been in the old time, motif. But I had a bigger issue with how illogical this got. And it just, I don't know, maybe that's on purpose, but it just didn't make sense to me how they were trying, or like Vision and Wanda are trying to stay low key. They're trying not to be found out. That's kind of the premise of the show within the show. But when things start to happen that aren't in line, or when things start to happen where people might find out, then things get a little serious, right? Like that's what we've seen. Like things get a little serious because Wanda, or whoever, well, mostly is Wanda, we see that she doesn't want it to go down like that. And so I get that. Like breaking the illusion isn't just them being found out. It's also, literally breaking that reality. And Wanda wants to be in this reality. But then stuff happens in this episode where it's like, dude, it is clearly something going on here. Because in the magic show, in episode 2, Wanda does all these things to make sure people don't think like, oh, something's weird. But then in this one, Vision, who all of a sudden has super speed, like you have to remind me, I didn't see that in MCU. But Vision is using super speed to run around or fly, whatever he's doing. And then he does it with the doctor and takes the doctor back to his house. And the doctor even mentions like, oh, we were going so fast, or let's go slower this time. And that didn't trigger anything to anybody. That wasn't a little alarming that the man was moving at super speeds. And then obviously we know what happened with Geraldine, I believe her name is, or her character. But Wanda's pregnant the next day and having a baby, and you didn't know that? Like, that didn't raise off some alarms. And I know she mentioned, like, there's probably a reason why this is all logical. And I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe, again, it's on purpose that things are kind of falling apart as far as holding up the reality. But it was just weird to me how they kind of let some things go and nobody really said anything. Although Vision did mention that the neighbors are starting to suspect, even though we don't really know exactly why. But I don't know. That just bothered me a little bit. But other than that, I mean, we had the 70s, I believe, type episode. And it's pretty much like the first two. Like, it sticks to really paying homage and really getting details of the era down, and respects it in all those senses. But this episode does take a little bit of a turn. Like, I mean, pregnancy can be a family fun thing, but on TV. But in these type of shows, it's just a little weird. Especially when she wasn't really pregnant before. And so that starts to happen. And now there's all types of questions about what type of babies are these? Because Vision isn't human. And then, Wanda starts. Not only that, we know Wanda is unstable. So whenever you bring kids into it, you're talking about even having powerful kids that could be evil, or you're talking about the mother being super defensive. It just gets to a weird territory. So you get a weird vibe from this episode as we start to kick it up. And mainly, this is all about the end. Really, everything in between, the house getting crazy because she can't control her powers, like all that stuff, whatever. This is about the end because this is the MCU stuff. And that is hearing Quicksilver's name. I always want to say Pedro. I know it's not pronounced that way, so I'm not going to try. But her brother being name dropped, which kind of shocked me. Not even shocked me because of the show. It shocked me because we haven't heard it in MCU in forever. And so that being name dropped, Geraldine being thrown out of the bubble simulation, the world, the whatever. So we see pretty much what we've seen in commercials, though, but we see it for the first time that everything is happening inside of this, and right outside of it is a organization trying to contain it or figure it out or do something. Mostly we think it's SWORD or it's SHIELD. And so that happens, and that just brings up a lot of questions. Then we have the weird interaction of this week. The weird interaction, first episode, the choking thing and, to stop it. Then you have the weird interaction in the second one where the radio, the glass, the blood was red, the helicopter, and then the beekeeper or whatever out the tunnel. And now we got this weird interaction where the two neighbors are talking, and Herb clearly wants to tell Vision something, but Vision, or he doesn't end up doing it. And the lady I think they said, I don't remember, some with an A, some older name, but she's like, she doesn't want to tell him. She seems worried. And so, to me, it's a lot of questions. Now it's a lot of questions. We're in all theory modes right now. And to me, I'm pretty solid from where I was before, except, I don't know. Here's the problems I'm having. The problems I'm having is that you have this world that's going on, and we want to say Wanda's in control because she changes things when it's not going her way. And we've seen that she wants things to go in a path where her and Vision together and happy and all that. But we go back to the first episode. The one thing that stops me from thinking that she just went wild, crazy, or broke and created this whole bubble around one part of the world where they're living in her fantasy. The one thing that stops me from that is the fact that they were watching it on TV in that first episode. And so it's being broadcast. That's the one thing that makes me think this might be something that is being manipulated by somebody else. And so again, they might have tried to tap into her mind, like set her up like in some type of thing, like I said, Inception or whatever, where they're tapping into her mind, but they weren't ready for the amount of power she had, in which it changed the whole reality around them in this big bubble. So now everybody that was originally in it, like experimenting, they've been caught into this alternative world. So that is something that could be very possible. And I know, like I said, a lot of people are thinking, well, it seems like this is just her in real life causing everything around her on her own volition. And then people entered the bubble to try and, stop it or find out what happened, and they got sucked into the thing. The two issues again with that is that people are watching it happen on TV. And the second issue with that is that clearly some of the people know what's going on. Like, there's moments like in the trailer where we saw Catherine Hahn. She didn't really know what was going on. She's like, am I dead? But in this episode, we seen her and her where they clearly knew, like, yo, they know what's going on. They know what Geraldine is here for, but they didn't want to say. And now Geraldine, she's clearly not with them. There was a moment where when we first introduced her, she was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And even when she's talking about Ultron and Quicksilver, she seems like she just remembered it. So I personally think there's two different organizations going on here. First of all, if I remember now, they could change it in the show, but in the comics, Sword was dealing with more intergalactic things than Shield does. And so it is very feasible that Sword is in here, and also people with some type of alien interest or alien organization, or maybe it's Hydra, who knows? Like, so I think there's two separate organizations going on. I don't know which ones, but it's clear to me, I think, that Geraldine wasn't with them. And so there's a lot of different aspects going on in this show. And then people are talking about, are the babies real? Are Vision real? Now, that's the biggest question I had from the beginning. Is because we seen Geraldine, she didn't even change reality. You know what I mean? It wasn't like she went into the bubble and her clothes changed and she was part of the simulation. Once she left the bubble, she was still afro and everything. So it looks like she kind of dressed up to go in there. And so it seems like everything from the outside world, even the beekeeper, we see him come in and look the same. So what is Vision then? Because if all these things from the outside world come in, like, what is Vision? Is he like the buildings in the house where it's just made up from her? Or is he actually someone? Or like, so there's a lot of questions that go on with that. But yeah, I'm very interested. They given us the slow burn. They really left us on they didn't give us much at the end. They left us on a cliffhanger. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But anyway, that's it for me. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, if you heard it here, it's official canon.